Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me this afternoon is Adam Dorn, Fitchbrug Fire Department. He is the guy that we get all of our safety and educational tips from here in Fitchburg. Dorn, how you doing?
Great, absolutely.
We're continuing. We had set up a carbon monoxide talk last time we got together, and we wanted to conclude that talk, if you will, as winter is approaching. Yes, I said it. It's been done.
Hey, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. There's good pieces now for fall and moving in. But I think a big thing coming up here is that it's time to be checking those heating sources if you haven't already done so. Checking the smoke alarms / carbon monoxide detectors, all of that. Adam, from your standpoint, we got deer camps coming up, hunting, that sort of thing, generators. Let's just talk quickly about generator safety.
Yeah, so generators, easiest way to remember it, don't leave them inside. Don't use a generator inside where you're going to be. Generator should be outside of the structure or the tent or whatever you're using, right? Outside, because it does produce carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide can be deadly, just plain out. And if you're going to be using a generator, make sure you have a carbon monoxide alarm in that structure as well. They make a difference. So that's huge to be able to know you have that feature there to save you if you need it.
Yeah, they say that, I think it's at least 20 feet away from a structure. I feel like it needs to be farther because of wind direction changing and stuff, and not putting it in on the side. So if it's by a house, not putting it on the side where you've got your intake of air coming in through your cooling and heating system. Like, how do you, what do you really do? I think the smoke, having the alarm, I guess, is one thing, but.
Yeah, 20 feet is probably the recommended area. If you want to go further than that, there's nothing that says you can't go further. So if you want to go further or are able to, by all means, go further away from the structure. But big one, like you pointed out, though, don't put it right next to your air intake, because all you're going to do is take in the carbon monoxide and put it back into the house, and then you have other issues.
Some other area to consider, too, is leaving your car running in the driveway. And I was thinking about this morning, I pulled my truck out, forgot something, grabbed something, and I came back, I was like, wow, that's already filling up pretty fast in there. What is the recommendation on that front? And we have a 10-second rule here in Fitchburg, but.
Right. Yeah, so if your car is in the garage, you want it warmed up before you take off on these nice brisk mornings that we're having. Do not start it up in the garage and leave it sit in the garage. That's the big one. If you're going to start it up, back it out of your garage, get it out into your driveway, or if you need to, on the street, if you don't have a big enough driveway to do that. But get it away from your house, your garage, because carbon monoxide can seep back into the house even if you have it out in the garage. Keep it far enough away if you're going to leave it run for a few minutes just to warm up. The other thing you need to be careful about, though, is that if you are going to leave it run, you kind of need to keep an eye on it, because there's been other issues on the law enforcement end of people coming by, getting in cars and taking off of them. So you got to be careful what you're doing, too.
And let me be clear that the city of Fitchburg does not say, A, that you should be turning your car on and leaving it running unattended by any means, and bad for the environment. But honestly, maybe you got neighbors around you, you're in a duplex, you see something happening, you may want to remind them that they are doing this, that you're causing effects to everybody in that area. And again, having that detector is most important. Quickly on the detector side of things, I feel like I need to keep bringing this up because I think it's super important that the detectors have gotten a lot better and detect a lot more things. So, in your opinion, is buying separate detectors a good idea, like one that's just dedicated to carbon monoxide, or can we look at that multitasked, you know what I mean, for detectors?
Yes. So it's very common to have combination carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. Those are very common. There's nothing wrong with them. They still work. They will detect carbon monoxide. They will detect smoke. One of the things that personally that I like is having separate ones, because they also make carbon monoxide and explosive gas detectors. So it detects not just carbon monoxide, but natural gas, maybe propane, some of the other things that you may see in your house or may cause an explosion. It'll detect those things as well. That's what I personally have in my home, and I like that.
kind of works out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the recommendation now, I think we've gotten past about getting these up, the long-term campaign of making sure you have it
Right.
and you can hear it. But now we're getting to the point where, well, they've been in my house for 20 years. It's doing its job. I've changed the battery every year. I've done what you said. What's this 10-year rule kind of falling into place? And by the way, it's manufacturer, really.
Right. It is all to the manufacturer's recommendation. Carbon monoxides, generally speaking, are about 7 years. So every 7 years, you should get rid of your carbon monoxide detector and get a new one. Yeah, they're a little expensive if you're going to do that every 7 years, but is it worth a life? To me, it is. I looked at the cost and figured it out over a course of each year what I would pay each year to have that in my home. I'm like, I spend more on that probably at Quick Trip in a week than I would ever in a lifetime for changing that out. So for me, it makes sense to do it. And smoke detectors are about every 10 years. You should replace them. But again, check your manufacturer's recommendation.
Absolutely. And certainly if anybody has any questions, Adam, whether it's a business, whether it's home, whatever, we'll have the open house coming up in October. But can we call you guys, get the answer those questions, all of that?
Absolutely. You can call us at our firehouse. You'll have the number listed below here. And then the other place, you can always email us if you need to at fitchburgwi.gov.
Fire@fitchburgwi.gov. I'm used to saying fitchburgwi.gov, so
Right.
I can cover you up on that one. So perfect. Well, that's a good tip. Certainly, lots of tips out there. We've talked about this at different times, but again, changing of season. One of those areas that, again, we're going to hear with fire prevention week coming up. We'll talk a lot about fire, but good to be getting yourself thinking on this front with your fall activities, if you will. So,
Exactly.
Doran, appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Jeremy.
We'll catch up soon. We'll take a quick break. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.